Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome back. This is Jim Grisanzio from the Oracle Groundbreakers team, continuing the series, the marathon series, actually interviews for the Oracle Groundbreakers India Yatra, which is wrapping up today. I think is today the 16th. Yes, today's the last day, but I have another day of interviews to do today, actually, and tomorrow. So this has been a 3-week conference for the All India Oracle User Group. It's been very, very successful. Over 100 speakers, hundreds of sessions, and I'm here with Aishwarya Kala, otherwise known as Ash. I call her Ash, from India, and she's a speaker, obviously, at the conference, and we're going to have a conversation here about what she's talking about and the community as well. Ash, welcome. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim. First of all, thank you for all the interviews that you've been conducting. I know it has been a Herculean task. So we really appreciate that.
Yeah, everything the India user group does is at scale.
Yes, we tend to go overboard. Yep.
You do.
We've heard that before.
Size of conferences, the length of conferences, it's really, really at scale, but it's always handled so beautifully. And so I have seen you on the last few times I've been to India. I've seen you, gotten to know you a little bit, but help me out. Just give me a little bit of background on yourself, from what you do, where you are, and we can take it from there.
So, hello everyone. This is Aishwarya, and I'm basically a database administrator. Right now, I am in Dehradun, in India, and I've been working.
Dehradun, I know that place. George Harrison wrote a song about. Yeah, well, I've never been there, but George Harrison wrote a song. I'm a big George Harrison Beatles fan, and yes. he wrote a song about your hometown or that where you are right now.
I've not heard this one.
Yeah. Oh, I will send it to you right after. Actually, right after this, and I'll put a link in the show notes as well, as they say.
Hey, that's great. That should be fun. Okay, that's something I did not know.
So where is Dehradun?
So Dehradun is right at the foothills of Himalayas. It's like one of the gateways where you just begin your trek. Like if I go out, I can see snow-clad mountains. Wow. I mean mountains. I don't mean hills. I mean the Himalayas. So, so we are the part of the country. Like India is not usually associated with being a cold place. So yeah, I'm in the part of the country that it's a bit cold. Yeah. Let's keep it there.
Well, that makes sense. That makes sense that he wrote this song about that place because he used to go to the Himalayas all the time. So makes sense. I've never been there, but I would love to go there. Maybe next year we can have
yes, absolutely,
that as a part of the next year's India Yatra. What do you think?
Yep, I would love that, and yep, we have plans. Let's stick to that. So okay, about what I do, I'm working as a lead database consultant with Pithian since 2017, I think. I work with managing databases through the entire life cycle. That's build, design, at times, tune them, manage, secure them, support their, the day-to-day management of the databases, high availability, disaster, everything around databases, and best practices. I mean, that's what I do wherever I can help or whatever I can do with them. That's what I do.
Cool. Interesting. All right. So let's talk about your talk then. You gave a talk last week
yes.
at this event, and it's called Demystifying the Use of Wallets and SSL with Your Database. So if I don't know anything, and I actually don't know anything about the wallets or SSL or databases, so tell me all about it.
Yes. So the thing that prompted me to pick up this thing or talk about this was I noticed across a lot of places, setups, the authentication mechanism that was being used or the security best practices or the security measures, they were not where they should be, especially given the cloud arena we are in, right? So Oracle offers a lot of tools, and I think many people would be surprised to know that most of these tools do not require additional licensing. And you've got a lot of encrypting mechanism, you've got a lot of securing mechanisms. So my talk was actually about exploring all these options, comparing them, what suits you the best, what are the ways to implement it. I did a demo about it, how to implement native encryption, then the concepts about encryption, data integrity, SSL, TLS, the industry standards, and it was just all about essentially encryption, SSL encryption, and so it's basically a way to secure your data. And what I was talking about was more focused on the data in transit, as we call it. So how do you secure the data? If you've got data on your premise, you want to send it to cloud. So how do you ensure that it's secure? That's just one of the use cases. But yeah, or even within your data center, you've got an application that's, let's say, exposed to the world, and you've got it exposed to your internet. So how do you ensure that things are secured, or the traffic coming into the database is secure? So that is what this talk was focused about.
Okay, cool. So you gave it last week. So was there any feedback or question and answer?
I know. I mean, you've visited India. You know that we are a chatty bunch. So
my goodness, yes.
Yes. So I was
sometimes the Q&A sessions actually go longer than the sessions.
Yeah. So I had around 40 questions, I think, and then
40 questions.
Yeah, and by the end, I know I was gasping for air, and I was like, please save me. I mean, not save me in the sense I would have loved to answer it, but I also know knew that we were running short on time. So, but yeah, I certainly intend to answer the questions that were still left over. I as soon as this conference wraps up, that's probably the first thing I want to do, because that's the thing that is my favorite. The question Q&As are my favorite part about a presentation. The discussion that follows, that is what I love the most about presenting, probably the most.
Well, it's interesting because that's a good way of looking at the entire concept of presenting. It's just a tool to engage a discussion. It's just a tool
Absolutely.
To start a discussion. Many times people go up and they'll do a talk and they're really talking at you. And they really want to leave, quickly. But the best speakers just use the presentation, the slides, all the technical content as a tool to engage discussion. And it starts conversation and it continues. And the speakers actually learn as well.
Absolutely.
Everything you said about, loving answering questions and things like that and having lots of feedback, many other speakers have said that as well. And they're continuing the discussion, days after the session is over.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And this leads to new relationships and friendships, and it just fits into this whole concept of doing a distributed development globally. When you have colleagues all over the world now.
One of my favorite thing about it's not even presenting; it's just being a part of the community. Is we do a lot of local meetups. So monthly meetups is the pre-COVID era, I must say. But at times, there have been times where we've been like 15 or 20 of us at a local meetup, short crowd, a local Pune chapter. That's where I usually am meetup. I probably don't even have a presentation hand, and we start discussing on a whiteboard, and that leads to communication, that leads to a lot of discussion. Everybody's sitting around and it's just a discussion, and everybody gets engaged, and that itself, if you look, it could be a talk of an hour, because that's what we were doing, right? We were engaging, we were exchanging ideas, we were building on what an initial idea, we were actually building on it, and that really helps. I love that. That's my favorite part. One of my favorite parts of being in a community.
Yeah, and these relationships that you get from communities last for a long time. I remember I was at Sun Microsystems. I was the community manager on the Open Solaris project. This was 2005. All right, that's a long time ago. Between 2004 to 2010, before the project was ended. And I went to India a couple of times as we were doing events and stuff for Open Solaris at Sun. And then I didn't go to India for many, many years. And then I moved into this job, and then I started to go to India again. And I pinged some of the people from Open Solaris years ago, and we got together, for some food and drink and stuff. And it was
Yes.
like yesterday, it was just, there they were, the same people I
Yes.
met years ago.
Yes.
And people inviting me to their houses. Oh no, you can come and stay here at my house the next time. And it's
Right.
like, really?
Yep.
Incredible. And so
When you're
these,
in India, you stay over at our places.
yeah,
So
no, these relationships last a long time. And of course they lead to technical relationships, where you're actually exchanging information and actually working collaboratively
yes,
on projects. So
absolutely.
how
Because
long how long
Mhm.
have you been involved in the AIOUG?
Okay, that has been. I was first. I mean, as a participant, it has been since the inception of the Pune chapter. I remember being there when the Pune chapter was inaugurated. Uh, Another colleague of mine, he introduced me to this community, and he just said that, hey, I mean, interestingly, I met him on a similar ground. I mean, I was working on an Apex project and I needed a bit of help. And he was my office colleague. Somebody routed me and he said, okay, what you do is you just come over here. You're doing something and discuss whatever you want to do over there. And I landed at this community meetup and we had this, and it was fun. It was like 7 years ago, I think 6 or 7 years
Okay.
ago, 6 years ago probably. But I've been involved as a volunteer since at least 3 or 4 years, and I've been presenting for the past 3 4 years across India. Yeah.
So you're not only like presenting as a technical expert in your area, you're also helping to run the community itself because you are
Yes.
participating at events and helping to run things.
Yes.
That's also very common among communities, real development communities, real user communities that have this sense of sort of the concept is everybody works, everybody participates, everybody earns their own way.
Absolutely.
It's a system based on merit.
Absolutely, it is. And every time you participate in this, you learn so much. It is, I mean, you share what you have, and the amount of learning you get just by interactions with people. And I'm okay, the technical learning is a big, big part of it because, of course, I cannot be exposed to all the use cases out there.
Right.
Yeah, I would be exposed to one use cases, but there would be 10 people with 10 separate use cases. And I just spend an hour and now I know about 20 use cases, right? So that is the technical aspect of it. But other than that, you just learn so much more about everybody. How, I mean, in India itself, you've got such a diverse culture. You just learn how to interact with them, how it goes. So yeah, it's a beautiful experience.
So you've been involved for about 6 years now in the community. I'm
Yes.
wondering what you've observed because I've been in this job for about 3 years, and
Mm-hmm.
one of the things I've noticed in the Indian Oracle developer user group, it's changed recently. It's growing. It's more diversified. There's a lot younger people
Yes.
now. There's different skill sets, and I specifically have asked the question because it was traditionally known as a DBA community, but the
Yes.
role of the DBA is changing. It's
That's evolved.
growing, and there's more developers. There's more database
Right.
development actually occurring.
Mm.
So you've noticed this change as well?
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, it's quite visible. The change is visible because uh, the we used to call it when I started working, it was a traditional DBA thing that we call it, a traditional DBA role where you're just bothered about the databases. It's not that anymore. Uh, it has evolved, but the thing is, the evolution has led to us, or as a DBA community, us having to pick up skills like working with code, learning to automate. It began with that. Then you started picking up tools that help you automate, make it more efficient. And then you get into more of an architect sort of place, right? That's another diversification where you help the developers actually work with the developers, help them with the application builds. So yes, it's not traditionally. I think I would say it was just restrict. It was not. It was more restrictive, I would say, in the earlier days. Now you've got more options to explore. You can, because the DBA role has been simplified in the sense that a lot of automation has become inbuilt in the database. You have the chance to explore so many avenues. You can work with the developers. You can, pick up more on automation skills. So yeah, that shift is pretty obvious. You can observe it by the way people, or you can observe it inherently in the way or the topics that people choose to present on.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
I've noticed this. There's just
Yes.
more development happening. There's
Exactly.
more Apex. There's more Java. A whole day on Java.
Yes.
A full day on Java. And actually several other speakers that were not necessarily in the Java track, actually, but
Yes.
they were in fact former Java developers, or they started their career with Java as in development.
Right.
So yeah, you just can't say, oh, that's just DBA. No,
Nope.
that's completely wrong now. And they're not into cloud; they're just DBA. Well, no, everyone I talk to now from the All India Oracle user group is into cloud. Because it's everywhere now. It's not
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
it's not like there's, cloud is a separate thing,
Absolutely not.
It's not new anymore. I mean, it's years, right?
It's not. It's years. It's years. It's not new. It's not new at all. And it's not cloud. It's DevOps. DevOps has played a big role. DevOps has come up strong. You've got. So you were asking about. Have you noticed? So as I mentioned about the topics, right? There used to be days, let's say around 4 years ago, where and there still is. I'm not saying that it's not there. Where when we would open up call for papers, and this is a local level call for papers for a local meetup, we would request our participants to just come up with their topics, or the feedback we would receive would be get us somebody to talk about how to install a database, how to install Golden Gate, how to build a database. The build part was what people were looking forward to, or how to install rack. Today's thing, nobody's interested in how to build it. No, everybody's interested in how to optimize it, how to make it more efficient, how to get the best value out of it. So that shift is very evident.
Interesting. Okay, so since we're all virtual now,
Yes.
I'm wondering, you guys, they're used to put on very sophisticated events, physical events. How is it working for you now when you have to do everything virtually?
I don't want to say this, but it has been terrible experience. I mean, we just underestimated it completely, or it has been, or to put it in a better way, it has been a steep learning curve for us.
Yeah. Well, I think, but it's everybody. Really, honestly, when this whole thing happened, a lot of people on the corporate side, you'd be in meetings and say, it's no problem. We'll just put it all online. No. There's a whole different. First of all, we don't have the tools. We have one tool. We have Zoom, right? And the more sophisticated things, cost a fortune to do. The more sophisticated software applications. They're talking huge sums of money, and all you get is a more sophisticated virtual experience, which might be good, but it's still virtual. And immediately, as soon as this happened, I said, I don't like any of this. I mean, I can fake it and say, yes, it's good. We get this many things. But no, do I like it? No, not at all.
Not at all. I mean, I'll tell you two aspects of it. One, as a speaker, presenting, this was the first time I was presenting virtually. It was strange. I'm so used to, when you're speaking, you get a feedback, and there were slides where I know I wanted a response from people. But then being virtual, it was like I was staring at a blank screen. So that kind of hit me hard. That's one aspect of it. And if you look at it the other way, I mean, I know I've heard Sai say a lot of times that we've underestimated this in the sense, the scale of what this is. There are a lot of things involved. For example, this is not just about opening up a Zoom webinar and letting it roll. There are 20 things that we've thought of that we want to do to keep people engaged virtually. It's not that simple to keep people engaged in a virtual platform, right? And coordinating things. And one of the things that really gets to me personally is I am, let's say, not too good with time zones and coordinating time zones across the globe. So that has been real fun. There was a point where you could throw a city at me, and I would say that's like India plus 5 hours. So after like 7 days, and I know most of our team was in that state, and so that's a challenging aspect to figure out what time zone which speaker is in, get everything coordinated, make sure everybody is on time. So when you're there, everybody is in front of you in a physical event, and you at least have some sense of control on the entire event. In a virtual event, you do not. You have absolutely no. And then figuring things out, how to make it more engaging, how to come up with ways to encourage people to network virtually.
Right. Yeah,
a lot of challenges.
With the time zones, India makes it especially challenging because it's a half an hour off,
Yes. Yep.
So I mean, I now know. I mean, I'm 3.5 hours ahead of you, right?
Yes.
So that's easy for me. But if I had to schedule on India time 125 sessions, I'd go mad because they're all over the world. It was hard enough just to do these interviews. But on the other hand, one of the things that is a benefit, and most people agree to this, is once you have the platform set up and once you have the schedules set up and you have most people there, it's trivial to make new connections from anywhere.
Absolutely.
It's just that it's just through a very thin pipe. When you're with somebody live, you get the full resolution. You can see all the expressions in their faces.
Yes.
You get it's just human, right?
Yep.
This is not at all human. There's nothing human about this, and so but there is the benefit is you get huge amounts of content in a very.
There are a lot of benefits. I'm sorry if I came around that. I was talking about the challenges in doing this, but it has been absolutely. I mean, as it has been absolutely 3 fun-filled weeks.
Yeah,
it could be exhausting, but it has been amazing. The amount of content, the number of speakers, and we're so glad there's so many speakers that we haven't really heard as an Indian community. We haven't heard them speak. And to get an opportunity to hear them on the various, that was amazing. I mean,
yeah, there's in fact most of the, I don't know if most, but about half, I would say, of the people that I've spoken to have never spoken to the India group before.
Yes, I mean, we tried to do that pretty consciously, that we wanted to not turn away anybody.
Yeah, and they were, the ones that were new, were very surprised and very impressed. You should know this, very impressed with the organization of how it's gone. Not only the reaction from the developers and the DBAs in the community, but just the organization of it all. They really, really appreciated it. I think, I mean, it's definitely a mixed bag. It's definitely, there's good and bad. Obviously, we're forced to do it, so we'll make do. But if someone asks me if I like it, no, the answer is a plain, flat, emphatic no, I don't. But there, you can make do with things that are forced upon you, and it forces you to improvise. And through that improvisation, you actually can find some good things in it.
You have to make the best of the situation we're in. That's as simple as that.
Yeah. I mean, I've met 50 new people here at this event, I would say, but I've met them from my kitchen. And I'm sorry, that's not the same thing. And this whole concept, we'll just forklift everything online. It'd be great. We don't have to travel. Missing the whole point.
Yep.
So, but even Sai said actually earlier on, he said, this is a lot of work to do. And he says, because we've noticed it as well when we run our own events internally. And stuff. So it's a different thing, so it's going to take a while.
It was probably because the first time we were doing it virtually, this entire conference, because we used to doing physical events, in-person events rather. So since this was the first time we were doing it, I would not say we were rusty. I would say it was new to us. As I said, it was a steep learning curve. Probably next time we'll be better prepared and we can bring in more innovations.
Yeah. And
That's our hope.
I think also when we do physical events again, we can blend sort of the best of both worlds a little bit more because we'll have the
Yes.
technology. It'll be
Right.
pervasive. I mean, because we're not going to be
Mm.
traveling for quite a while.
Right.
And so the all the digital systems will be much more sophisticated, by then. So when we do
Yes.
physical events again, we'll be able to blend the two. And that might be quite cool, to do.
Mm. Yes.
And so, all right, Aishwarya Kala, thank you very much for joining me. It was a pleasure. I'm happy things are wrapping up, so I can take a little break. But that's nothing compared to what you guys have actually gone through.
You do look happy, so I can. But I'm really
Yeah.
glad to be speaking with you. It has been an absolute pleasure.
Yes, me too. All right, we'll see you. We'll think positively. We'll see you next year for Oracle Groundbreakers India Yatra, and tell
Yes.
Sai to put Dehradun on the schedule.
Yes. I'm working on it.
And that would be very, very good to have an event at the foot of the Himalayas.
Right.
Thanks. All right. We'll see you later.
Bye bye.
Bye bye now.